as someone who has a background in operations management with teams who had to test applications, I can tell you it's always a challenge as a business manager, as a frontline manager, to make time to pull someone, a SME, off of their daily routine, to put together test cases, to gather test data, to test, to validate. A lot of times, sometimes that's happening after hours. So you're paying overtime for those people to actually do this work because they've got to do their day-to-day job on top of it. So it calls into question, the idea that there are still organizations who are relying primarily on manual testing. Ramson, what are the risks there if organizations are continuing to rely mainly on manual
Sure.
testing?
Yeah, a couple of major risks, right? Missed defects in critical workflows, right? You're trying to, release an Epic, the latest version or a couple of versions. You're trying to, rush, or maybe the coverage is not there, right? Your staff cannot simply test everything, quote unquote, right? Whereas automation allows you to provide better test coverage. The patient safety impact of all that, right? Because of those errors or those misfires, or the screen is not tested properly, you might have an errant submission, an errant order, an errant lab draw, or that's directly aligned with someone's actual safety, right, and their health. And then from a business side, you have the revenue, right? Defects, leak defects. It obviously costs more to fix something in production versus in the testing or development cycle. There's a compliance exposure. And then from a personal perspective, manual testing is human, it's personal. You might just get burned out. Like Vikram mentioned earlier, some of these teams wear multiple hats. So you might have a nurse that's doing their nurse work, and then they have to do testing, right? For an Epic release, and where they find the time, and it just adds more stress and pressure to their daily job. So those are some of the risks.